All right. Hi, YouTube. So, other fixtures to get that are super useful. So, as you can see, I have a 3-jaw chuck. This is an 8-inch chuck on top of an XYZ table. So, it does in and out, left and right, and it rotates. This is a Craftsman 3-axis table. I paid $400 for it used on eBay. And when I got it, it needed some love. Basically, the thing had been sitting around forever, so it had some rust on things. The tabletop was kind of all covered in a rust patina. All the grease inside the thing had long since dried up. Things like that. So I had to spend a little bit of time cleaning things up and getting all that patina of rust off of parts. But after that, it worked beautifully. I had to do one modification on the thing because after a while I discovered this was causing me some trouble. The rotary table and the base didn't touch, except for in the center piece that bolted to the table that was then part of the rotating mechanism. So what that meant was that between the base and the table was about a 1 millimeter gap in here, so it allowed this whole thing to rock a little bit. And what I did was I milled down the top of the rotary assembly that the table bolts down to. I just took about 1.5 millimeters off of it, and that meant that this piece was then, when it was tightened down, was way too tight down here. I did that on purpose. And the reason why is because then I wanted to be able to tune exactly where perfection was. So what I did is I made a bunch of paper shims. Yeah, literally paper. And there's about 5 of them in here. So I stacked up paper, and paper is going to compress a little tiny bit. So I put like 4 in there, and then I assembled the whole thing. And then I would turn this, and I was looking for that point of just absolutely super silky smooth movement and no wobble at the same time. So if 4 was enough, I tried 1 first, that was enough. I tried 2, that was enough. Tried 3, that was enough. Then I said, oh well, let's just put 7 in there because I'm not getting there yet. I just keep adding 1 more. So I had like 7, and then I got the wobble back in there because now the base and the rotary table weren't touching anymore. So then I took 1 out. That was still too much, just a little bit of wobble. Took another 1 out. Now I'm back down to 5. And now I was dead on. And then I, bolted everything all together and let it sit. And what happened is the paper compressed, which is what I expected. It would compress. But right at first, with that 5 sheets in there, it was perfect. But then, like over the period of about a day or 2 days' time, the paper compressed a little bit. So I had to add a 6th one in there, and that has since compressed. And now it is absolutely brilliantly perfect. There is no movement of any kind between the tabletop and the base. It's everywhere, all the way around. It's a perfect mate. And there's a little bit of grease in between the two to help them slide against each other. But it's exactly perfect, and there is no wobble of any kind. So that was the one modification I had to do this thing. I bought it used on eBay for $400. That was probably a far better purchase. In fact, I'm dead sure of it, than the crossvice. Because I can do rotating movements in increments. I can clamp things down to it with that hold down kit I have. I can do all the XY movement that I can do with a crossvice. The only thing that's different is how I hold parts. That's it. So hold downs are a little bit tougher to work with just because you've got to, put T-slots in and bolts in and arms down and crank everything down and hold all in place. But this is by far a more usable appliance for milling than the crossvice because I can do so much more with it. And then with this $114 Chinesium 3-jaw chuck, that then means that I can clamp round stuff or 3-sided or 6-sided stuff in here, which is, again, super useful. I never take the 3-jaw chuck off the rotary table. I use it as is like that because everything else where I need hold downs, I probably do it in the crossvice just as well. I'm seriously thinking about getting another one of these things sometime in the future. Just because, then I can use hold downs, I can hold odd pieces, things like that, things that aren't square or round or whatever, and be able to work on them. But this is by far way more useful to me than the crossvice is, just because I can do so much more with it. The reason why I won't ever take the 3-jaw chuck off, because I've done it twice, and I can tell you from personal experience, that it's a giant pain in the ass. Well, taking it off is easy. Getting it back on again and getting it dead center, that's hard. You need a dial indicator, and you need lots of patience, because you're going to keep these screws just barely snug enough to hold it all together, and then you rotate the knob. You look for where the lobing or run out is between the table and the 3-jaw chuck. Tap it over, turn the knob again, look for the run out again, tap it over where the run out is the most, turn it again, and this will probably take you about 2 hours to get it dead center. That's usually what it takes me. So I don't take this thing apart. Right now, because of a little bit of not quite dead center clamping on the 3-jaw chuck, I have this set up so that I'm counteracting that by having it offset a little bit on the rotary table to counteract that thing. So that when the jaws go together, they go together in dead center, because I'm adjusting for it down here. Anyway, getting that all set up is a giant pain in the ass, and it takes hours to do it. So once I have this set up, I don't fuck with it. It's done, and it'll stay this way for probably years. But I can do so much stuff with this setup that I can't do with the cross vise. I can make circular things. I can make increments of a circle. The rotary table does 1 degree of rotation. On this knob right here, I've got 1/10 of a degree. I can do pretty much anything I possibly want to do on here. Like those parts you saw in the Outrunner. Those are almost all done right here. Super easy to do. Easy way to make bolt patterns that are in a circle, or 6 bolts in a circle. You want to do 8 or 1500, doesn't matter. You can do that all right here. This is the best tool, the best appliance for milling on a drill press that I've ever bought. Worth every bit of it. And this isn't horrible. It's not perfect. It's just, it's Chinese yum grade. I only paid $114 for an 8-inch 3-jaw chuck. What do you want? But I was able to adjust out almost all of its not quite centeredness by simply shifting it on the table a little tiny bit to fix for that. And now it does pretty good. It's I have like 4 thou that's still in there, but that's not bad. This was a well worth purchase. I would strongly recommend, if you want to mill on your drill press, get yourself an XYZ rotary table. If there's one thing I wish I had, is one that I could stand on its side, because that would make some other operations super, super easy too. But I've gotten around that one without too much cost. I'll talk about that one next.